Something unprecedented just unfolded 62 million miles from Earth. And for the first time in history, NASA and the European Space Agency are openly admitting they don't know what they're looking at. 2 days ago, the interstellar object codenamed CIRRUS-9, an icy rogue planet detected only last year, stopped moving. Not slowed. Stopped. Its velocity relative to the Sun dropped to zero in less than 90 seconds. In orbital mechanics, that's impossible. Nothing in deep space just stops. And yet the data is unambiguous. Every major observatory, from Hubble to the Very Large Telescope, saw it. CIRRUS-9 isn't small. It's about 1.3 kilometers across, an enormous icy mass drifting between Mars and Jupiter. Its sudden deceleration released a flash of radiation brighter than anything recorded since the Crab Nebula. At first, scientists thought they'd witnessed a massive impact or an outgassing event, but the spectral signature was nothing like any natural explosion. The burst carried high-frequency neutrinos at energies we've only ever produced inside particle accelerators, and buried in the signal were pulses arranged in prime numbers. Not random noise, a sequence, a message. For the next 14 minutes, CIRRUS-9 pulsed with blue-white light. Then it went dark. When the light faded, astronomers realized something terrifying. The object was no longer a frozen mass of rock and ice. It had changed shape. Where once there had been an irregular comet nucleus, there was now a perfect sphere, its surface smooth and metallic, reflecting sunlight like a polished mirror. Every piece of debris in its vicinity, dust, ice, and rock, had been drawn toward it, forming a shimmering halo. Here's what has governments panicking. 31 minutes after the transformation, CIRRUS-9 launched hundreds of smaller objects, bright, needle-like fragments each less than 20 meters long. They didn't drift randomly. They accelerated in precise formations, fanning out across the inner solar system at speeds exceeding 150,000 km/s. Tracking data shows at least 47 of them are headed directly for Earth. Impact window: late January through mid-February. The physics of these needles defy explanation. They're changing course mid-flight, executing burns with no visible propellant. Their radar profiles show hollow interiors lined with dense lattices of an unknown alloy, not natural material. And they're not tumbling like rocks. They're rotating on fixed axes, maintaining perfect orientation toward Earth. But the most disturbing data comes from deep space radio telescopes. The needles are transmitting, not a beacon, not a distress call, a scan. They're sweeping across Earth with directed pulses in multiple bands: microwave, terahertz, neutrino. Each pass refines their resolution. They're mapping us. Every satellite, every city, every nuclear silo. We're watching reconnaissance platforms conduct a systematic survey of the planet. A Pentagon analyst described the scenario bluntly. This isn't an asteroid impact, it's a deployment. The needles aren't fragments of CIRRUS-9. They're vehicles. The comet was a carrier, and now it's launched its payload. CIRRUS-9 itself hasn't remained idle. 3 days ago, its surface temperature spiked by 400 degrees Kelvin, and for the first time, gravitational anomalies were detected around it. Space-based gravimeters recorded fluctuations suggesting mass redistribution, like a machine activating an internal mechanism. The object's albedo also shifted into infrared, meaning it's absorbing sunlight instead of reflecting it. That's what solar panels do. Meanwhile, military satellites have picked up faint but unmistakable electromagnetic fields linking CIRRUS-9 to the deployed needles. The pattern looks like a mesh network, relaying data instantaneously across tens of millions of miles. A DARPA communications specialist who reviewed the intercepts compared it to quantum entanglement on an industrial scale. No known human technology can do this. Governments worldwide are moving assets. The U.S. Air Force has quietly repositioned its missile warning satellites. China's space agency has canceled 3 launches without explanation. Russia has placed its strategic bomber fleet on standby for the first time since 1991. And yet, no public statement explains what's coming. NASA's Planetary Defense Coordination Office convened an emergency summit last night. Leaked documents reveal grim assessments. If even one of the incoming needles survives atmospheric entry, it could deliver a kinetic impact greater than the Tunguska event, or deploy something far worse. If multiple arrive intact, humanity faces an unknown technological incursion with potentially hostile intent. And still, CIRRUS-9 looms in the background, its sphere glowing faintly in the dark. New observations show massive panels extending from its equator, kilometers long. Some kind of structure is unfolding in deep space. The dimensions match theoretical designs for a Dyson sail, a megastructure capable of redirecting solar energy on a planetary scale. The thing nobody tells you is this: objects don't just decelerate in interstellar space. They don't transform into perfect spheres, launch swarms of reconnaissance craft, and begin building megastructures. Not unless something made them to. And whatever made CIRRUS-9 has just announced its presence inside our solar system. We're running out of time. The first wave of incoming needles will cross the moon's orbit in 71 days. They're accelerating. We don't know if they're weapons, probes, or something stranger. But one thing is certain. They're not rocks, and they're not natural. In the coming weeks, humanity will have to decide whether to treat this as a contact event or an invasion. Either choice could define our species for the next 1,000 years. The universe just stopped being silent. Something out there saw us, came here, and opened its hand. We're about to find out whether it's offering a gift or a fist. 3 weeks after the first wave of CIRRUS-9 needles left the sphere, the pattern finally became impossible to ignore. They weren't just headed for Earth. They were forming corridors, hundreds of objects moving in perfect parallel tracks, creating invisible lanes stretching from interplanetary space straight toward our orbit. When plotted on a 3D model, the paths looked eerily like invasion routes or approach vectors for an enormous delivery system. The incoming objects weren't silent anymore. Ground-based receivers from Alaska to South Africa began picking up ultra-low frequency tones buried beneath the normal cosmic background noise. The tones rose and fell in harmonics no natural source produces, modulating at intervals that matched the rotation of Earth. It was as if the entire planet had become a beacon, and someone, or something, was tuning itself to our signature. Then came the atmospheric anomalies. In the upper mesosphere, above 70 kilometers, instruments recorded microscopic fluctuations in pressure and temperature, as though invisible objects were already skimming the edges of our airspace. Air traffic controllers from multiple countries reported ghost echoes on radar, solid returns from targets moving at orbital velocities, then vanishing. A European Space Operations Center physicist described what they were seeing in plain terms. They're mapping our atmosphere before they even arrive. The data packets being transmitted back to the sphere are enormous. Whatever CIRRUS-9 is, it's building a real-time model of Earth down to the molecular level. Meanwhile, the sphere itself, now redesignated Object 2024 C9 Alpha, began to rotate. Slowly at first, then faster. Each full rotation coincided with a spike in neutrino output, as if an engine were cycling up. Amateur astronomers captured images of faint arcs extending from its poles, symmetrical beams of charged particles sweeping the void like lighthouse beams. This isn't a dying comet. It's an active platform. What terrifies analysts most is the timing. Calculations show the main body of CIRRUS-9 will reach a gravitational node near Earth-Sun Lagrange point 1, just days before the first wave of needles enters our atmosphere. That's a position ideal for controlling or monitoring activity between Earth and the Sun, or for deploying something into our path. NASA and ESA are no longer speaking in public about fragments. Internal memos now refer to vehicles and platforms. Classified documents leaked to the press describe contingency planning on a scale never before attempted. Civil defense drills disguised as winter storm preparedness are quietly ramping up in 26 nations. Certain high-value government facilities have begun relocating staff inland or underground. Then, a breakthrough. Scientists at the Square Kilometre Array in Australia managed to decode a fraction of the signal coming from the network of needles. It wasn't just data about Earth's magnetic field or atmospheric composition. It contained timestamps, precise repeating sequences that, when converted from base 12 into base 10, matched exactly the countdown to the first predicted impact window. In other words, the incoming network appears to be broadcasting a clock that ends at 0 the moment the first wave reaches Earth. And as if to confirm the worst fears, last night something unprecedented happened. For the first time since its transformation, CIRRUS-9 transmitted directly toward Earth. Every major radio telescope recorded the pulse, a single, thunderous spike spanning from ELF to gamma rays. Inside that spike, hidden in the noise, cryptographers found a single phrase repeated over and over in a frequency-modulated carrier. Phase 1 complete, Phase 2 initiated. No one knows what Phase 2 means. But 2 hours after the transmission, at least 7 of the incoming needles changed course. They're no longer aimed at open ocean. Their new trajectories take them directly over the world's largest population centers: New York, Lagos, Mumbai, Sao Paulo, and Tokyo, at altitudes low enough to survive intact until impact. A former NORAD commander put it bluntly, "We're watching the staging of a deliberate, precision-timed operation disguised as a comet event. This isn't reconnaissance anymore. This is targeting." But here's the most chilling development yet. High-resolution images from the James Webb Space Telescope show that the outer surface of CIRRUS-9 Alpha is now covered with thousands of tiny openings, launch ports or emitter arrays, glowing faintly in ultraviolet. At this scale and orientation, they resemble the grid of a gigantic weapon system. If those ports release additional payloads or direct energy beams, Earth's entire satellite network could be blinded or destroyed in seconds. We're no longer preparing for a natural disaster. We're standing at the edge of the first interstellar incursion in recorded history. Governments are scrambling to build a response, but planetary defense was designed for dumb rocks, not for machines the size of mountains. And as the countdown ticks toward 0, the same unanswerable question hangs over every war room and science lab. Are we facing an automated probe, a forward operating base, or the opening act of something far larger already on its way? Because if CIRRUS-9 Alpha is just the vanguard, the real arrival hasn't even begun. No one on Earth could have predicted what happened next. Hours after the impact, telescopes began picking up faint flashes of blue-green radiation, unlike anything ever recorded. These weren't random bursts of energy. They pulsed rhythmically, almost like a cosmic heartbeat echoing across the void. Some scientists believe it was merely the collision's aftershock. Others whisper that it might have been a signal, a warning, triggered by whatever was struck out there. Space agencies across the globe scrambled to aim their most powerful instruments at the coordinates of the event. Spectral scans revealed traces of exotic matter, material so dense and unstable that it shouldn't exist outside of a black hole's event horizon. Incredibly, this strange material was spreading, leaving a shimmering trail through interstellar space like a glowing scar. Meanwhile, deep space listening stations reported a rising background hum on the same frequency as pulsars, but far louder and growing stronger by the hour. It seemed as if something, or someone, was amplifying the signal. Governments are keeping their findings secret. Official statements call it an anomaly. But leaked reports hint at a massive object slowly emerging from behind the debris of 3I Atlas, a structure so large it defies comprehension, rotating like a fortress adrift in the dark. And here's the chilling part. Calculations predict that this massive anomaly will cross into the outer edges of our solar system within months.
Scientists say it's too soon to panic. But if what we're seeing is not a random collision, but the opening of something, or the arrival of something, then everything we thought we knew about deep space might change forever.